Released or expired? Which is best? Ladies and gentlemen, thank you once again for tuning in to another episode of Generational Wrestling Podcast. As always, is yours truly, the 28-year-old piece of gold, the franchise, aka the showstopper, better known as the GOW's Wrestling Tribal Chief, and he is the flyest in the room, Mr. 123. Pin that ass down, KBZ, aka HC's Wrestling Isaac Hayes King, 2 Code in the building, bro. What's going on?
Man, nothing much, man. Another great show to talk about, man. Released or expired, man. Which is best? Man, does WWE have the better way of letting talent go, or is it AEW? Bro, let's get into it.
All right, with that being said, man, so we're going to talk all the wrestling news and rumors in both AEW and WWE. All right, man, so right now, the biggest thing online right now is released or expired. Like you say, which way is the best way to let a talent go? Obviously, in the reality of the situation, you don't want to see a talent leave. That's, food off their, off the table, money off the table. But at the end of the day, business is business. And, with the tribalism between WWE and AEW, you got people who are very anti WWE way of doing things, right? Of how they let people go, seemingly sometimes out of nowhere. And then you got AEW with guys like Tony Khan, man, who doesn't necessarily cut contracts, but he lets the contracts run out. Another thing I want to touch you about also is the booking of certain people in both WWE and AEW, because, there's been chatter online, why haven't we seen the Dark Order as much? And, just a couple other people who are getting pushed who seemingly at this time are in catering. And, people want to know, where's that same energy at from the WWE crew? Because we talk about, when WWE starts and stops and magically takes people off TV, we get on their ass. So, AEW fans want to know the same thing. But Too Cold, I want to get started, right? Once again, which way is the best way? Released, expired, bro, Dakota Kai. So Dakota Kai was one of the surprising releases amongst the WWE/NXT universe. And then more news came out. More news came out that, one of the reasons that she got let go was because she made it very obvious that she did not want to re-sign a contract with WWE/NXT. But also behind the scenes, she had several tryouts for the main roster. And it was reported that some higher ups felt that Dakota didn't fit their vision of a main roster female superstar. In your mind, Too Cold, what does that mean to you when you hear them say Dakota Kai didn't fit their version of what a main roster female star is? In comparison, when you look at some of the people, not to throw any shade, but let's be honest, you got a Dana Brooke and you got a few other people who aren't necessarily the best wrestlers, yet somehow they made the cut. I feel like Dakota Kai can cut the mustard a little bit better than Dana Brooke. What are your thoughts on that new information, brother?
Well, first and foremost, apologies for the interruption. We are dealing with a tornado warning, so we kind of go in and out. That's the reason why. Miss Hope is back. What's up, Mom? I haven't seen you in a while. Hope everything is going good with you. What's happening? Glad you made it to the show.
Earl, the man
what's up, Earl? Okay. First and foremost, if Dakota Kai wasn't part of their vision, and when you look at someone like you compare it to Dana Brooke, my answer is she's not entertaining enough. The in-ring work we know is there for Dakota. That's not a problem. It's the way she can make people laugh and whatnot, and that's what Dana Brooke is. Hey, Dana Brooke. I don't know, man. You can say she's gotten better, and that would be true compared to where she started, but she's still not someone I don't expect to see Dana Brooke being WWE Women's Champion anytime soon. Tag team champion, sure, because they put anybody can wear those belts. I mean, Tamina got to wear that belt, and so it is what it is. But when you think of what is WWE's vision, it's about your charisma. Does the Kai have charisma? I think she does, man. She's had quite a few characters. What's going on, Kevin? She's had quite a few characters in NXT where when her heel turn when she turned on Tegan Knox. Man, that was stuff. She got great heat for that. And so and the crazy chick that she played a little before she got released. I don't think that was so much as what they wanted, what she wanted to do. I think that was more of what Vince and them felt. Uh, but for the most part, her heel in NXT leading up to 2.0 has been pretty good. So it's not that she's not a character. It's not that she can't come out and cut a promo. I wouldn't say she's the greatest, but she's decent. She's better than a lot of other females that try to come out and cut promos. So, but when you think of her contract and when we ask the question, which is better, well, for her, she didn't resign. So that means her contract's getting ready to run out. So it doesn't necessarily fall under bad. It's not like BFAB, where when you look at how you resigned her and then cut her, it's like damn, like that's more of the messed up part about it. It's like, and it's not even like she did anything wrong to get cut. You just cut her. You didn't really give her an opportunity or see what it is can do. So when we ask that question, those are the type of things we're looking at, and we're also looking at just you know other talents like for AEW, when you're letting guys go, when you're letting their contracts just run out, where you're not really letting the guy go, they're still making money, but you're not doing anything with them. It's essentially what WWE is doing, but you're not you're not signing people and then letting them go. You're not doing kind of some back door kind of shady little deal to soften up your money. Uh, so yeah, you can say maybe one is a little different than the other or better than the other, but I guess it depends on which company you kind of rooting for. But there are examples where, like I said, where you look at it and it's like, man, that was kind of messed up. Like, how do you sign all these people and then just cut them, and you don't even give them an opportunity, and some of them you make them feel like, man, I don't even know if I want to do this anymore.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Okay, let's talk about it. Okay, so we talked about Dakota Kai, right? You talked about BFAB, but let's talk about Roddy Strong, because the information I read today that really kind of threw
Mm,
me off. That uh Roddy Strong had actually requested his release, and
yeah,
NXT WWE they denied it because of they had creative plans for Roddy Strong and Diamond Mine. Yet you take the face of the group, literally the mouthpiece of the group, and
the
you get rid of
mouthpiece,
him
the mouthpiece.
instead. And to me, that was very ass backwards, and the logical, the explanation behind that really didn't fit the narrative to me, because it's like, okay, so you cutting people, you cutting the cost. Roddy
Well,
is
he
38.
he was, but he's also like Dakota. He didn't resign his contract either. Like he falls under that same umbrella of having the opportunity but not doing it. And it's funny that you say that because I'm watching NXT right now, and guess who shows up in Diamond Mine to talk? It's Roddy Strong. But
But that's the
yeah,
thing, Dakota Kai didn't re-sign her contract and they let her go. Roddy Strong is 38 years old. Obviously, either doesn't want to go to the
oh well,
main
there,
roster
yeah,
or
well,
isn't
this
going to the main roster, and yet he wants to leave and you keep him. To me, that's ass backwards. Not only do you keep him because you got creative plans for him in Diamond Mine, but then you get rid of Malcolm Bivens. It's like your reasoning behind that is just is stupid to me. Uh, could or possibly Roddy Strong, right? I mean, besides the infamous call up of death, which we refer to as the fans to a lot of the NXT call ups. Do you think Roddy Strong? Do you think the rest of his UE or former Undisputed Era teammates are over at AEW? Plus his wife Marina Shafir, she's over at AEW. Do you think that also played a major part in Strong wanting to leave and get up out of NXT, or do you think it was a little something more?
I think it's a little bit of both. Wow, that's that's that's. I'm sorry. Okay, hold on to that question. Okay, so they just showed India Hartwell sitting in the locker room and she's looking at her hand and she's got the saddest face. And then who walks up? Duke Hudson. And then they're just standing there looking at each other like they're just standing there looking at each other. And then they Duke Hudson says something and then they just walk off. And it's like dude, like I don't like that was like an assholey thing to do. But I guess that's Vince's way of playing on the releases. Like, dude, like so you're gonna show two people sitting in a locker room. and you release both you release both people who each is with like Dexter's with girl, but and she's with Peraza of not Peraza, uh the girl that got released
Yeah, Prada. Yeah, Persia Prada.
Prada, 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 Prada. I got to mix up with Prada. Prada was with Duke Hudson, and I don't know, man. I just that was just kind of like really like you gonna play on like oh so now they're gonna be a love interest like really like out of just nowhere Duke Hudson and Indy Hartwell is just gonna have I don't know that threw me off because I was watching it as you were talking, but that was I don't know that was kind of messed up. That may be another conversation we'll have, but uh Roddy Strong, it's a little bit of both. One is the fact that he was supposed to have a run with the cruiserweight championship. Like that was the whole point of Diamond Mine. That was the whole point. It was going to be built around him being the best cruiserweight champion, putting on the best matches, and then you were going to have young talent guys coming up, and
Right.
that's what the Creed brothers was. And they just did a little segment about that, and that was it's showing that they're getting ready to break that group up. So Diamond Mine ain't gonna be Diamond Mine much longer. Uh, but I think it's the fact that they changed things up. One, they merged the title with the North American, so that's no longer around. Vince never cared for the cruiserweights, so that's a downside right there. And I mean, he doesn't look like he's going to have opportunity. Like this is supposed to have been Roddy's time to come up in NXT. Like he got away from Undisputed Era. He took a little time off. He came back. He repackaged himself, and it worked for him because we know what this guy's workload is in the ring. So it's disappointing to see a guy like that that's really good. People want to see him come up, and I just there's no confidence, man, that Vince is going to do something good with him. He's not going to be some joke. So I'm going to say it's partly that, and the fact that yeah, his wife is over on the other company, and so is his friends, and it's like everybody seems a little happier because they're just doing what they love to do. They're talking shit and they're wrestling. And let me just go talk shit and wrestle. I just want to go do that. Even if he decides to go to Impact, Steel, Ring of
Yeah.
Honor, whatever, he's out of that company. But I personally feel like it's both.
All right, man. So let's hop over to the other company, All Elite Wrestling AEW, headed by Mr. Tony Khan. So we got Stu Grayson of the Dark Order. It is said that his contract has expired. He is no longer with the company as of right now. It is also said that the door to a return is still open, but as of right now, Stu Grayson is no longer an active member of the AEW roster. Speaking of the Dark Order, man, has had a pretty unique up and down trajectory in AEW. When they first came into AEW, they were getting pushed, and then it didn't get over with the crowd. Then they came back, repackaged a little bit, got a huge push for a minute once Brody Lee really took over the helm. And then even after Brody Lee passed, they still kind of got a little bit of a push, but it seemed like they started to kind of lose their way. And now you haven't really seen much of the Dark Order as of late. Too cold, man. Stu Grayson. We talked about WWE letting people go. Here's Tony Khan now letting contracts expire, much like him, Marco Stunt, and a few others. But Stu Grayson, man, to me, one of the better workers of the Dark Order, one of the more popular
Mhm.
workers and members of the Dark Order. What are your thoughts about the way that situation was handled?
A little surprised by that because I didn't know it was true. I didn't realize that, but that kind of makes sense. But in a way, to be honest, let's start from the beginning for them. When their gimmick when they came in, people knew of it, but it was just something about it that just felt that just didn't totally get over. And
Yeah,
I always said it was too many people. You had too many people. You had too many unnecessary people. Uh, I like the human throne aspect, but I don't think you need that many minions. Plus, you already had like 7 guys wrestling. Then you had
yeah,
like another 7 guys to be your minions, and it's like, dude, you're like 20 deep. Like, no, that's what failed the NWO. Once the NWO got to like 15, 20 deep, it was all bad. Um, but also, even though people like Stu Grayson and Evil Uno as a tag team, they had a nice little name for themselves. Uh, but they weren't really getting over on TV. They left for a while. They come back, and the Exalted One is the new thing. They're doing promos, and the commercials that they were doing, they seem so legit that at times, man, when you're watching it, you don't even realize you're watching the show at that point. You still thinking you're watching the commercials getting, playing,
Yeah,
and then you
yeah.
see Dark Order. Like, wait a minute, what? Like, what the hell? Wait, what kind of commercial is this? Like, oh, this ain't a
You
commercial.
can
This
tell
is
you can
this
tell they put like
whole
bad money into that.
man, it wasn't even that it was mad money. It was, I think it was just produced very well. I mean, Tony put some money in it, of course, but it wasn't like it was extravagant. Like it was one of those. It was just one of those run of the mill, ads that they do, man. And so it wasn't nothing too crazy, but it looked like a real commercial. Now we fast forward, we find out Brody Lee is the leader of the group, and the steps that they were taking to make the group more of a menacing group was the main thing. The problem with that is Brody passed. And I think that took away the plans for the Dark Order. So Tony had to change them on the fly. It didn't feel the same way without Brody. Like
Yeah,
you didn't want to boo him. Like that, and that was the thing. People didn't want to boo him. People didn't want, to hate the Dark Order. They wanted to love the Dark Order, especially at that moment. So they found something and they did it with it, but I don't think it was ever the long-term plan. And that's the
right.
reason why uh I mean, don't get me wrong, Johnny Hungy and Reynolds, they showed out. 10 when he wrestled, sometimes he showed out. When Evil Uno came back and he lost all that weight, him and Stu Grayson,
Yeah,
like they had their moments, but I still feel like whatever the plan was originally, along with Brody, uh, that was the long term plan. I'm pretty sure there were supposed to be rivalries where people they were supposed to fight, but that had to change up. So you had to change a lot of things. So I I the Hangman stuff worked, but what failed them is the same thing that kind of took some of the fire out of Hangman beating Kenny Omega was that Hangman had left and he wasn't back. And they tried to do a few things by themselves, but it wasn't really nothing there. And guys were getting hurt. So I think it's just unfortunate, but at the same time, it's understandable. Um, Whatever the long term plan was for the Dark Order, it obviously went out the window because, again, they became a fan favorite. They weren't a heel team as what we know them to be. Like you gotta think about that. Like they literally went from being a heel to instantly just being fan favorites because people felt for them and just everything that went on. And we all know what
right.
happened and how that went out. But um, yeah, and honestly, letting the contracts run out, sure. I mean, look, Tony's got to do what he got to do, man. He's got a lot of people. Think about it. AEW's got a lot of people. They all
Yeah,
don't make $1 million contracts, but hey, it's still a business at the end of the day. Letting the contract run out, um, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I'm hopefully he had talks with him and let him know, like, hey, there's a good chance we might just let this thing work out. But then again, it
right.
may work out the best for people because you have an opportunity to go somewhere else. And let's be honest, man, what did we say AEW was going to be? It was going to be a place you can go and put your name out there and build yourself up. And you can say the Dark Order has built themselves up. We know
Right.
they're talented. We know they're a group of guys that's talented. So it ain't like they couldn't show up somewhere else and do something good. Um, and that's the difference between AEW and WWE. And that's the one thing is like people. I say it again. I feel like people expect AEW to be where WWE is right now, and that's not how it works. That is not how it works. And again, this is a company that's going to spend more time showing you the unknown people and showing you the newer talent and giving them an opportunity. That this is you're going to still have the stars. You're going to still try to bring in other big names to help build up the talent. I mean, I always said you need some names to build up these no names. That's why we were glad to see Punk and Brian Danielson and Adam Cole and a few others. It is what it is. That's just wrestling, man. It ain't no different than TNA. It ain't no different than Ring of Honor. It ain't no different than all these other guys being in some of these other companies. but the big point is they show the newer talent, and with that, that has to come that maybe you won't be there for a long time. You'll just be there to make enough money to build yourself up. You'll get paid. Obviously, they have their mainstays. Not you're not going to keep all of them, but no, man, that's at least that's how I've always understood it. So I've never had a true problem with them letting guys go. But I will say I had a problem with them not putting over a guy like Brian Cage when he was having a good steam. Like those are the things. It's like you had some positives, but you definitely had some negatives.
Yeah, and you know that's what I think a lot of people is funny because I think because Tony Khan caters so much to the internet and to the online community and to the hardcore wrestling fan, I think well, I'm not gonna say I think I know a lot of times AEW fans, and I'm an AEW and WWE, man, I'm a wrestling fan, right? Uh, I think a lot of times AEW kind of gets a pass, right, for things that WWE does, just off the simple fact because it's not WWE. I feel like a lot of times, you know, the hardcore, tribalistic AEW fan will sit there and you know they will go to bat and make any and every excuse in the world for why this happened and that happened. But then when WWE does the same thing, it's the end of the world. Now, as far as Tony Khan go, let's talk about AEW and their booking and you know just the way they handle talent. So Dustin Rhodes, aka you know formerly known as Gold Dust, he said, you know, here in AEW we have coaches. In WWE, they're called, you know, what is it? What's the word I'm looking
Okay,
for?
creative
You know, with that, but it's something else that they called. God damn it!
writers, scripted writers. They're
No, no, no,
script
no, no,
writers.
no. Agents. It was what I was looking for. But yeah,
Oh, the
and he was
agents.
yeah, and he was saying like you know here in AEW, you know our guys, which everybody say you know here they have more freedom to be themselves, but in WWE like they're so strict. There's such a cookie cutter process, you know, that the talent can't really spread their wings and fly. And I, I guess my question to you would be right
You
because
have
people,
to. You have to. You the point you're making is that in WWE you have to make do with what they're giving you. That's the whole point of WWE. It's here. This is what it is. Make it into something special. Where in AEW is okay. Show us what you got. All right. Let's see if we can do this. If it works, cool. If not, let's try to retry it again. Like that's the
now,
difference. And
now, my
that for me that's the difference.
so I guess my question would be AEW still in this infancy. When they get 10, 15 years in, right, and things start to change, especially from a business standpoint,
Mhm,
do you think Tony Khan
mhm.
will eventually be in the similar situations that Vince McMahon is now finding himself in, as far as catering to you know the networks and the executives and to the corporate interests and stuff like that? Because right now TBS and TNT and Turner, they're kind of giving Tony Khan and AEW like a little bit of leeway, but eventually, you know,
Mm.
I think there's going to be more of a streamlined process. Do you see Tony Khan still, you know, trying to do things his way, or do you think eventually he'll kind of fall in line? And then the same things we're complaining about with Vince and WWE, do we think eventually the same thing will happen to Tony Khan? Is it just a matter of time? Or do you think Tony Khan's looking at Vince and like, okay, you know what? Some things are unavoidable, but we're not going to fall down this rabbit hole that they've fallen down.
Yes, and I think that I do believe that Tony Khan and AEW will go through a lot of the issues that WWE faced, especially when it comes to talent. But again, they're when they get to that point, we'll see how far they've come as far as the level of where they're at. Like right now, this is year three. I'll say it again. This is year three. Okay, it took till year three for a lot of available people to be available to be able to come to AEW. Yes, they had their original people, but I also will mention The one thing that really hurt AEW, especially for that second year, was COVID. COVID is what really hurt AEW because you took away the fans, and and you have to think when AEW first started, the fans let you know who the somebodies were. It's like, oh, this dude, you want to watch him. Ah, this dude, you want to watch him. Nah, boo, I ain't like that. That's not as great. The fans were the reaction to you knowing, okay, who's at least worthy to look at, or who's not really doing that well. Not having them for that moment and for that time, and just using the fans, I mean not the fans, the wrestlers
Wrestling.
themselves, like that helped, but it didn't really get over. Like it was, and
Yeah.
it just wasn't for AEW, that was for WWE also. Like you already had so many people watching it, then you lost almost half of that until fans started coming back, or you started, it just seems just to be somewhat relevant again, to where you missing that key element, and that's the fans reaction. The fans reaction always mattered. I always said that was going to be a big hurt for AEW, but they pressed through, and you know they had to do what they had to do. Once the fans got back, obviously you saw the people who put in the work during that pandemic, you saw them get the love and respect that they needed. That's why when we got more of the Orange Cassidys and everybody else, it's like, okay, we now know who, we now see who are the builders of this division, or this company.
Right.
And like I say, when they say the pillars, well, we know who the pillars are. I mean, that's Darby Allin, that's Jungle Boy, that's Sammy Guevara, that's MJF. Those young guys right there are truly to be the new faces in this business. Even if it's WWE, or if they eventually go to WWE, it doesn't matter. But for this new company, there were the building blocks. They can be the building blocks to build it, but like WWE, you got to keep adding blocks. The building ain't gonna stay sturdy, man, if you don't put, make sure the foundation and everything is great. So it is what it is. But I do think they will run into some problems, but they still got a while to go to where I'm at that point looking at it, like we're like the way that he does business, and then critiquing it. Like right now, he's still making a lot of rookie mistakes that Eric Bischoff liked to mention to him, but he's also doing a lot of good things and really trying to make something work, and work his way, not the
Yeah.
way that WWE does it, but in the way that brings us and a lot of other people back to wrestling.
All right, too cool. Well, look, man, we covered some releases, we covered some creative differences in WWE. We talked,
Right, right.
expired or released, which way is the best way to do it. Um, Before we get off the air, man.
I look. I feel like this before you say anything. Uh, if you're gonna really, business is business. All right. If WWE was hurting for money, it's like, man, it's unfortunate. When you're making hand over fist and you just releasing a bunch of people just willy nilly, and it ain't so much that they did anything bad. It's for the simple fact that you, as a company, didn't really give guys the opportunity to spread their wings. If the process doesn't really allow time, because it's so big and it's so conglomerate and there's so many moving parts,
Yeah,
do WWE really have the time anymore? You see
yeah,
it now because he ain't got no choice. You can't keep bringing Goldberg back. It's only so often you keep doing stuff like that. Edge is only
right,
gonna last but so much longer. Randy Orton going his way out the door. Roman Reigns can only smash so many people. So at some point, you got to start bringing in some people. You got to start building up the process. So it's like we're looking at Vince now. We're like, really, Vince? Now you want to do it? You couldn't have did it at the height of when you had everything. Like if you really wanted to crush AEW, bruh, should have put the production behind NXT when you had the people that people were tuning in to watch NXT. That would have put a hurt into NXT, to AEW. I'm not even gonna lie. If Vince would have said, "All right, Trips, you got it. What you need, boom, here it go. Blow them out the water." That would have been the thing. That would have been, well, that would have been crucial for AEW, because NXT was already a show people knew was quality. Now
Yeah.
you put the production behind it that you seem to be wanting to put behind it now, bruh. It's gonna get over. It would have killed in the ratings easily. What's up, Leo,
Leo,
man? I see you
what's
joining us
good?
as we get ready to get out of here. But to end that though, uh, releasing somebody when you just signed them, that's messed up. Like they're like with Dakota Kai, she didn't resign. Her contract's getting ready to run out. Michael Bivens, his contract was getting ready to run out. Other people, Adam Cole, Brian Danielson, Aleister Black, their contracts are running out. So it's like they release them. Well, they didn't resign back, and they getting ready to get let go anyway. So that way they ain't got to wait that 90-day clause. But even if they do, uh, for most of them, if their contract was what 15, 30 days, it's like, bruh, I
Yeah.
forget your 90-day complete clause. It runs out in 30 days. I'm good. I can just go off and do whatever I
Right,
want
right.
to. In AEW, uh, at least you get to finish it out. And then even if it does expire, maybe there's a renegotiation. A lot of times it may just be renegotiation. My man made, Dark Order's done good. Maybe they want to, a little bit of bump, and also want to, be shown a little more. So you always got to look at the reasons for some of them. I know that's still kind of putting like, well, AEW is doing great and WWE isn't, but I haven't seen AEW do those type of things yet. That's why I say they got to get there first to be able to do those type of things. Then we'll say that. But right now, they're still a startup company. It's a glorified independent with some big name people on it, and a lot of folks that people want to see be great because we didn't get to see them be great in WWE. Is everything gonna be perfect? No, but you gotta have a little patience, man. You gotta have patience. Everybody can't be an instant Stone Cold The Rock. It doesn't work like that. It does not work like that.
With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that will wrap up another edition of the Generation Wrestling Podcast. Bro, tomorrow we got AEW Wednesday Night Dynamite.
AEW.
We got AEW Thursday. We got our WWE Evil series. This time we covering Randy Orton. We also got our WrestleMania Backlash prediction show Thursday as well. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
It was fun talking to you. Released or expired was the topic of tonight's wrestling news and rumors report. Bro, before we
Yeah.
get out of here, I just want to say it was fun doing this with you. Leo, Hope, Benjamin, Earl, everybody that showed up.
Hope.
Thank you guys so much. And if you haven't
For
already,
sure. Appreciate
click
y'all.
the link, the YouTube links, the Spotify's, the Apples, all that stuff. Wherever you listen to your podcast, man,
The
Generation
books.
Wrestling Podcast, Facebook Generation Wrestling Podcast, Instagram Generation Wrestling Podcast, or GOW Media 216, GOW Media 216 on Instagram as well. Comment, share, subscribe, tell a friend to tell a friend. Click that notification, man, to get all the latest up-to-date information. Also, feel free, if you got some spare time, check out our interviews, our interview tab on our page. Once again, man, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Generation of Wrestling Podcast. I'm the 28-year-old piece of gold. He's too cold. And until tomorrow, we'll see you when we see you. Peace.